Hi, my name is Akilah, and I am a debtor. Thank you for asking me to speak, James Paul. Thank you to everyone who's here doing service. Welcome to all the newcomers. I'll just start. I'll just get some numbers out of the way first. I came into DA in May 2020. My solvency date is June 1st, 2020. And so I've been solvent since then. I still have a lot of debt. I carry about $150,000 worth of student loan debt, and I have some credit card debt that's, clarity, that's probably about 30,000. And today I have savings, and I have savings. So I'll get into that in a minute. So what it was like is that I grew up in an alcoholic home. So there's a lot of financial insecurity in my home because my dad would frequently get laid off from work, which just meant he would get fired because he had a bad attitude. And so he was unemployed a lot. My mom was very stressed out about money. And she also had a lot of bill collectors calling, right? So they would, I grew up in the 80s and 90s. I would be home by myself. They would be calling the house. And so then I'm like fielding these calls of bill collectors during the day. And I was just like, I don't want to live like that. Like, that's not what I want my life to be. And so it wasn't, it wasn't, because what happened is I built up really good credit. I have excellent credit. And what I would do is I had great credit and no savings, right? So I could get a card pretty easily. Anytime I needed something, I would I could go to a store, get a card, and then I could get tires, or I could get a washing machine, or I could get stuff like that. But if I didn't have credit, then I would be in a panic, because then I wouldn't be able to get the things I needed. So if my laptop broke and there wasn't a special at the electronics store, I couldn't get a laptop because I don't have any money. Or if my credit, like when I was working as an adjunct, which was part-time, I wasn't full-time, so I didn't have the employment history. So then I couldn't get credit, then I couldn't buy stuff. And then it would be like, what am I supposed to do? And so I lived like that for a very long time. And money is always an issue. So what happened is that I came into DA because I was looking for a place to live. This was about probably like April 2020. I started looking for I skipped March. I started looking for a place to live. And I didn't have money for the down payment or the security deposit. And so I had moved from a place that was a college town. And so you didn't need as much as you need in Los Angeles to get into a place. They were always running specials. They were always doing these things. And so I was looking and I was like, wait a minute, I need first months, I need security. I was like, oh, yeah, I don't have that kind of money. And so I was like, well, where can I get money? And I was like, oh, I'll go to my credit union. And so part of why I wanted to move was that I needed to save money. So my rent was I was like, I need to move. And I was like, I'm gonna go to the credit union and get a loan. And as I was doing it, I was like, this doesn't sound right. Like, I don't think this is gonna work, because now my rent may go down, but then I'm gonna owe more money to the credit union. I was like, that doesn't make sense. But I went anyway, because I didn't know what else to do. And when I got there, I'm filling out the paperwork, and he gives me the guy at the credit union gives me the rundown of how much I can check out. How much I could get, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. He said, well, it should be okay as long as you haven't run your credit card back up. Because I had went into the credit union maybe a year or two before to do a consolidation loan on my debt. And one of those was my credit card. And, you're supposed to do that and then get rid of your credit card. And I didn't do that. And I had run my credit card back up. And I was ashamed. I was looking at that and I was like, this does not make any sense. I don't understand what's happening. And so I think, and so two things happened. One, I came in from another fellowship, but I was leading a meeting.
That's 5 minutes.
Thank you, Lisa. I was leading a meeting there, and we were talking about what I now know to be financial abuse, right? So financial insecurity, financial abuse, my parents taking out loans in my name, getting cars in my name, doing those kinds of things because they can't go to the DMV and get a car because we owe them money, so those were the kinds of things that were happening. And I was in there and somebody said, oh, the money meeting, I couldn't go to the money meeting tonight. So I guess the money meeting came to me. And I was like, I don't know what the money meeting is. And I wasn't going to ask because one of the things in the reading said, we don't ask for help. Yeah, I wasn't going to ask what's the money meeting. So I went home and looked it up, as one does. And because I was the only money meeting I knew about was Gamblers Anonymous, and I knew that wasn't it. So I had to look it up, and I found out about DMBDA. So I don't know how long it took me to go to my next meeting. It wasn't right away, I can tell you that much. And I was looking at it and I read through the website and I was like, this sounds like it's probably for me. And so I was like, well, there were a couple of women in the meeting that had mentioned that money meeting. I was like, you know what I'll do? This was my best thinking. I was like, I'll ask one of them to be my sponsor and then they can help me with this money stuff, right? Because I'm not going to go to another program. Like I wasn't interested in that. And what happened is, I think the following week I went to the meeting and one of the women was like, I have to go because my BDA meeting is starting. And I asked her some questions and she was like, come on. And so she walked me over to the meeting next door. And that was my first meeting in May. So when I got into the program, I did start listing right away and I started doing what people said. I got a sponsor very quickly. And I got my sponsor by saying, I need a sponsor. Is anyone available? And someone talked to me after the meeting. And that was really good. And that's why I was able to start my recovery so quickly, I think, because my sponsor is very loving and kind, but she would also say stuff like, so I came in May. I went on a work trip I didn't have enough money for. I used my credit card, but I didn't want to use my credit card anymore. It was already in the pipeline and I didn't have money. And I came back and I was supposed to go on another trip in July to Europe. And I was like, yeah, well, she was like, I think you should cut up your card. And I was like, well, I think I'll wait until after I do this other trip because, I don't have any money. And she just was like, don't you think God is bigger than your credit card? And I was like, ooh, I guess. So I didn't. I went on that trip and I didn't use my credit card. I created a spending plan and I had the money. And so that was like one of my very early memories. And so one of the things that I did, I started coming and learning about debting behavior. So on that trip, I went on that trip and my sneaker ripped, my tennis shoe ripped. And I didn't have any other shoes. And I was walking through the airport, like flopping up and I was like, these are debtor shoes. So I took them off and threw them away and wore my other shoes. And I was like, I'll have to get new shoes later. And so just thinking about things like that, like those small ways we debt. And so, and then I was just thinking of some other small ways that I was debting after. So like I said, I'm solving now, I'm paying all my debts back and I have not incurred any new unsecured debt. I got PRGs, started doing that right away. I did a mini PRG at this meeting when I first came in and, I had some savings, but I didn't want to spend it. And they were like, girl, just spend the money. You need it. It's fine. It'll be replenished. Like, this is what this program is about. We don't live in fear that we won't have savings again. We say, I'm in a situation that requires me to use this savings. I know it'll come back to me. And so I started doing my PRG said. So I have paid off a debt in this program. And one I thought I was going to be paying till the end of time. So it does happen, but I just still have more debt. And, the first thing, there's a lot of things that happen, but So I'll just go in this order. The first thing the PRG told me is, like I said, I came in from that other program, and you know, that growing up in an alcoholic home, and my dadding are they're like this. It's very closely linked. They're so close together. And a lot of my dadding was, let me take care of my parents because I don't think they can take care of themselves. Let me take care of other people because I don't think they can take care of themselves.
5 minutes left.
Thank you. And one of the first things my PRG team told me to do, they were like, stop paying your parents' not credit card, your parents' cell phone bill. Because I had told them, I'll pay your cell phone bill. Just give me $40 a month. I didn't know how much it cost. It cost more than that. And I didn't want to do it. And it was really hard. And I did it. And my parents were fine. And like that was kind of the thing. I had to like stop taking care of other people, take care of yourself. They will be fine. So the other thing that happened was I really had to take care of my health. So my PRG team, I had a doctor who was all right. They were like, get a new doctor that you like, you know. And so a lot of that first fall, I was just going to the doctor, going to the doctor because I have a lot of chronic health issues. I have chronic health issues. And so I had to start doing that. You know, I got a CPAP machine because I was always tired. And I also am very hypervigilant. So it turns out I don't stop breathing, but I think I'm going to stop breathing and I wake myself up. So, you know, there's just a lot of stuff that happens there. And so
4 minutes left.
How much?
4 left.
Thank you. Yeah. So one of the things that I want to talk about is, so I started taking care of my health and doing all this health stuff and, you know, really focusing on that and focusing on myself and taking care of myself. And one of the things that I learned is that I have major depressive disorder. So I was diagnosed with that in August. And what it is, I think for me is, you know, I had to stop obsessing about other people. I had to stop obsessing about food. I had to stop obsessing about money and get that money right. And then that's the chaos that kept me from dealing with this other thing, because I'm like outrunning my depression. Like that's what I learned. I was constantly trying to outrun this depression because I didn't want to deal with it and I didn't want to sink into it and I didn't want to you know, I just didn't want that to be my story. It's basically what it is. I just didn't want that to be true of me or to be my story. And the fact is, it is right now my story and it is true of me. And I'm being treated for it today. And, you know, it's a process of slowly getting better and doing the footwork, which, you know, I do it. And one of the things is I'm a high achiever. I'm high functioning at like like a high function, I'm a high achiever. And so a lot of these things go undiagnosed to me because I don't show them to people and I don't want people to know. And I don't want to know. And going through and even doing the footwork, like I'll do everything y'all tell me and I won't be happy about doing any of it. And I'll have an attitude, you tell me to take care of myself and I'm mad, but I'll do it. And so what that has afforded me is a lot of recovery, which is great, but it also means I'm not always enjoying my life. And so one of the things that I'm really working on is finding joy or pleasure in my life. So I do a lot of things. And so I'm just trying to key into that. And I do things today that I enjoy. So it's not like, I hate everything I do, but I started taking tap classes during the pandemic because they were being offered outdoors. And I love dancing, and that's a good reminder for me. But it's still sometimes things that I have to remind myself, you like this, why don't you try it and see if you like it? And I was reading in one of my daily readers, they were saying, you know, maybe instead of thinking about doing it's more, because that was my thing. I'm like, how much more do I have to do? Like, how much more do I have to do? How much more? And instead of thinking of doing things more, why not think I'm doing something differently? And I need that kind of thinking shift. Like, yes, I'm doing something differently. And so, like I said, I'm getting my money stuff together.
1 minute left.
Thank you. Still paying on that. And I just want to talk a little bit about there are these small ways I debt that I pay more attention to today. Like, for example, I had a lamp in my room. My daughter needed a lamp. We switched out lamps. So now I have the lamp and I can't see, but she has the lamp and she can see. And so I did that for weeks. And then finally I was like, I need my lamp back, but it took me a while. Or I had mailing labels with my old address on it, which I moved solvently in this program this year, by the way, I forgot to mention. And I had my mailing address with my old, so, I don't want to write out my address. I also don't want to pay for mailing labels. So let me put these mailing labels with the old return address. And then my friend sent something to that address. And it's like, just buy new mailing labels. Like, these are things that I have to constantly kind of just check myself on, because I do them without thinking, because I don't want to do the work, or it seems easier, or I don't want to upset people. And, I'm working on that stuff a day at a time. So with that, I'll pass. Thank you for letting me share.
Akilah.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you so much.
That was super
Thank you.
awesome.
That
Thank
was
you.
amazing.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah.